Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video by UmbrasDarkness. First off, you guys, in this video, I want to say thank you for 3,800 subscribers. We're growing so fast, it amazes me that we haven't slowed down. So thank you very much. If this is the type of content you like, if this is the type of content that you think other people would like, please consider subscribing, sharing my video on your Discords, things like that. I want to be able to teach as many people as possible, so thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do so. With that, you guys, the topic for today is going to be server rules. What I've seen in my 3 different servers, what I've seen inside of Discords and things like that. These are the server rules that I've seen and what I think are best for server growth, things like that. So, first off, you guys, the number one question, obviously, that gets asked is player versus player. What should we do? Where should we do it? Things like that. Obviously, every day player versus player is bad. You have 2 days that people could gather. Free choice on day 6, and then day 2, people are required to gather for SVS points. So you don't want to do PvP on those days, and you don't want to do PvP on the days prior to them. So that gives you 3 days to do PvP in order to ensure your server is growing in points. In my opinion, you do not want to do PvP on day 7 because everyone should be using stamina for player versus player against the other server. It's called the kill event. You're supposed to go kill the other server. So as you can see, I'm running pretty low on stamina. I have a unit at the tree, and then I'll be out again using stamina rather quickly and go to bed, honestly, because it's almost midnight here. So with that in mind, that gives 2 days that I would think player versus player is good. And that is evolution and strength and special ant days. There's pros and cons to doing player versus player on both days. So in my personal opinion, I think player versus player is totally fine on both days. But the argument against it is very valid. Which is that day 3 evolution, not everyone's going to log on right away. And evolutions take a lot of resources. So taking from a lower player for evolutions prevents them from their account growing on that SVS day, and maybe they don't get 9th chest, and etc. etc. That being stated, Special Ant Day doesn't take any resources that someone could take away, and hatching soldier ants doesn't cost a lot of resources, and you shouldn't be doing player versus player on day 5. So if you're going to choose only one day, I think day 4 is the correct answer. But day 3 and day 4 makes sense. With that, day 2, you could buy a 3-day bubble in the store for 2,500 diamonds, and you can bubble on here and skip both days if you don't want to do player versus player. Right? So you can just go to inventory, go to store, go to buff, 3-day bubble, 2,500 diamonds. With this, I also believe that there should be some basic rules. First and foremost, no tiling and no zeroing. I think that both of those lead to a negative culture, right? You don't want people to tile because if someone's gathering resources even on those days, who knows if it's like a force event or something else, right? Just let them be, let them do their thing, things like that. They can't bubble tiles. So if they don't want to do player versus player, let them buy a 3-day bubble and move on. The other part is zeroing. You know, forgetting the 3-day bubble or doing player versus player and your phone dying and then waking up and you're across the world when you were in your hive is really bad. I think if you're in another hive being an aggressor, you should be able to get zeroed. But if you're not in a hive, right, and hives are pretty distinct. If you're not in a hive, it doesn't matter. Just you can't be zeroed, right? Some players like to play by themselves, so they're far away from their hive. Some servers don't have hives at all. Like server 7 that I'm on doesn't have hives. We're all across the map. There's no whatever. You just teleport to get next to people doing rallies, or you use T1 troops. So I think that that's the easiest way to do it. But I do recommend at least one purge day. The next rule that I get asked a lot is punishments for player versus player. Like, if I'm going to encourage player versus player, how would you punish? First and foremost, if people are breaking the rules of like when nap is and when nap isn't, allow the player a chance to like apologize. Right, honest mistakes happen between spring ahead, fall behind, things like that. But also just like people's sleep schedules. So allow the player to apologize. If he continuously does it, obviously it's not the same situation, and further disciplinary actions have to be taken. And allow the player to give back the resources stolen. If the player gives back the resources stolen, move on. First offense, maybe even second offense, I would allow the player to just get a negative title. Third or fourth offense, I would probably just kick the player out of the alliance. And not allow them in an alliance for like a week of not breaking rules. A lot of players come here and play the game for a community, so getting kicked out of a community will encourage that, right? They want to play because of the community. This does have a negative effect, and why I don't think it should be used right away is hate breeds more hate, right? If you kick out players, if you do things like that, it's just going to cause them to hate, and then they might start tiling, and then, someone tiles you, you tile back, and then it just escalates. So I would think that removing someone from an alliance would be like a last resort. All right. The next thing that people ask me is War of the Kings. How do you rotate War of the Kings? What's the best way? Etc., etc. First and foremost, if you have like a dictator person in your server that takes War of the Kings every week, you're screwed. Get out of that server. It's a toxic server. Don't look back. But if that's not the case, if that's not your playing situation, then what you should do is you can rotate based off of number of active alliances, right? So if there's 6 active alliances, I'd probably say rotate War of the Kings off of like top 4. What this does is it ensures like the most active alliances are getting the title, and it pushes people to like join top alliances, things like that. But what I would also do is, instead of doing top 4, so like a lot of people will come in here, they'll go to leaderboards, they'll go to alliance power ranking, and they'll be like, oh, this alliance is on top, this alliance is, and they'll go based off of this. I don't think that's the right answer. I think you should go here, go to results, battle history details, contribution rankings, alliance rankings. Top 4 here, and then if you decide that it's going to be a top 4 rotation, Sin, right, the alliance I'm in, can't have it 2 weeks back to back. They can only have it once in a 4-week period. And then that allows other alliances to play, but it also ensures that people are pushing for SVS. That goes the same for titles. The way that I like the titles being done is Monday through Friday only. You're looking at SVS contributions, and you are pulling that data, and at like the last 2 minutes of Friday, day 5, you're screenshotting top 8 players. They get titles. First player gets first choice. 8th player gets 8th choice of title. But top 8 players get titles. This pushes people to play, but limiting it to Monday through Friday also ensures free-to-play players get a chance. For build day, pay-to-win players don't get an opportunity, right? They run out of buildings, right? So they're not going to be able to push for first all the time. Gathering day is any man's chance, right? Especially if you're focusing locus on insects, like I recommend. Free-to-play players have just as good of a chance as pay-to-win players to win. To be honest, most pay-to-win players cannot be bothered to pre-gather for as long as you can. And then the day 3 evolutions, sure, free-to-play players aren't buying creature remains, but most pay-to-win players are only buying the weekly $10 creature remain pack because the other creature remains are just the most expensive bang for buck, especially in my opinion. That being said, it allows free-to-play players to only get ninth chest for like 3-4 weeks in a row and save up to try and get first, or at least donate a lot. Thursday, anyone can do the spore trick. It doesn't take a lot of eggs. It doesn't take a lot of spores. Well, it takes some spores, but anyone can do it in order to push for first. Not a lot of players do it, so that ensures that you have an opportunity, even free to play. And then Friday, you get 250 to 330,000 diamonds completely free to play, right? I don't buy any packs that give me diamonds, and I gain a little over 300,000 diamonds a week. So because of that, it allows free-to-play players to go all in on Friday, and you're only looking to get top 8 in server contributions, right? So if we look at 8 right here, it's only 3.13 G. And this is on day 7, right? So, but that allows players to push and get titles because they're top 8 in donations, or top 8 in server alliance contributions. And it gives free-to-play players a maybe not equal playing field, but an honest and genuine chance to get a title. Instead of like one alliance getting it and then only get that alliance giving it to 8 players that aren't going to utilize Queen, or a non-pay-to-win player that's not going to use Ares. Because obviously Ares benefits, especially on SVS day, going to a player like that. So that's how I'd handle War of the Kings. That's how I'd handle tile giving away. That's how I'd handle player versus player. And that is how I'd handle punishments. The only other thing that I really get asked about inside of Alliance or server rules is 2 of them. One, I've never been asked about, but Server 7 does this. They only ask for water inside of the English channel. They do not allow, right? No one will give you water. They'll tell you to go to the English channel if you ask in Zone or in Alliance. You have to go to the English channel, and then people ask for water there. I think that's cool. I think that's phenomenal. It allows chats to be frequent and consistent. Obviously, it's established as a culture, but I think that this is a really cool idea, and it allows chats, again, to be like very fluent. The final thing that I get asked is like presentation of rules. Guys, I've been in a server that has a PDF Word document that you have to download in order to read the rules because they're that detailed and complicated. That's awful. I've also been in a server that the rules were like not written down at all. Also awful. In my opinion, the rules should be like a PowerPoint, 1 picture diagram that like you could recruit with, right? They should be simple enough to like 4 bullet points, 5 bullet points, maybe a little bit more elaboration beyond the 4 or 5 bullet points inside of like a Discord page, but it should not be very complicated. It should be short and sweet to the point, easy for translation, right? So that way people with different languages can easily understand it. And it should be short, so that way no one has to try and think about it, and it's a quick look at Discord to decide it. So those are my feelings on server versus server. Or sorry, not server versus server, on server alliance rules. I want to thank the Patreon for asking me for this question. A member of the Patreon did push for me to have a video. I've been asked this question by a lot of people, but a Patreon member was specifically asking for a video about this, and I appreciate you pushing me and asking me and trying to get knowledge from me to go out to the community. Hopefully this helps someone in some server to be able to have a different perspective or different thoughts. If you guys have different server rules or an area that I didn't cover or think of, I would love to hear it, love to have it feedback, maybe a part 2, right? or at least a discussion inside my Discord. Again, you guys, if you are not up for the Patreon, not something you want to do, please at least consider subscribing. Subscribing helps me out tremendously. Consider liking and sharing this video. Until next time, you guys, you can catch me in the YouTube comments. I'm in there all the time. You can find me on Discord. I'm the #1 most active talker there. Or, worst case scenario, you can find me on server 260 or server 7. Until next time, you guys, stay humble, stay happy, stay hungry. Bye, y'all.